Hi, and welcome back to the channel on the college process. Once again, my name is Ed Zamora from Principia Prep, and today we're going to be going over the 10 most common mistakes made on the FAFSA form. But before we begin, if you're looking for more college content, please hit the subscription button down below. It will notify you when new videos come out. We typically do 2 videos a week, and hit the like button if you enjoy the video. It does help our channel. That being said, let's talk about the 10 commonly made errors on the FAFSA form. Now, right off the bat, the number one made error, I guess you can call it, is not filling out the form, either because of a myth or parents thinking that they make too much or they've been told they make too much to fill out the form. Because without filling out the form, you're never going to know what financial aid you may or may not have been eligible for. Also, right off the bat, I have clients I've helped out who have incomes of $400,000 have actually received tens of thousands of dollars of financial aid assistance. So thinking that you make too much is not an automatic reason not to fill out the form. Now, the second most common error is filing the form late. Now, many families don't realize there's actually 3 different deadlines when it comes to the FAFSA form, because you're technically dealing with 3 different groups providing you financial assistance: the college itself, the state you reside in, as well as the federal government. Now, the FAFSA form becomes available starting October 1st. That's when seniors in high school start filling it out for the first time. Now, between that October 1st start date and February 1st, that time frame, October 1st to February 1st of senior year, this is the time frame you have to fill out the form. This is typically when the schools require the form in. Now, the only time you have to do the form earlier than that for school deadline specifically is if you're doing early decision. If you're doing early decision, then typically most schools will require all financial aid forms to be turned in at the same time that the admissions deadline is for early decision, which is typically November 1st. So you're not late with the school's deadline. Now, the second deadline is the state's deadline. Now, the deadlines for the state requirements for the financial aid form for you getting in the FAFSA on time is typically between April 15th and June 1st. Now, when it comes to this deadline, once again, I tell parents, if you get everything in by the February 1st deadline, you've already covered yourself on the state side. Aid in utilizing the FAFSA form to consider you for state funding. Now, the third of the group is the federal government. The federal government actually has the latest deadline. They apply for aid through the federal government as late as December 15th of their freshman year and still be eligible for aid for that fall and spring semester for that academic term. Now, obviously, nobody should be waiting that long to get the forms filled out. Just get the FAFSA form in by February 1st. That'll cover you for all 3 people, so you're not late and missing out on any financial aid consideration. Now, the third most common error made on the FAFSA form, it's filling out the form too early. Now, there's 2 different types of filling out the form too early. The first type of filling out the form too early typically happens when high school senior families fill out the financial aid form before October 1st because they kind of get confused and think the form is due by October 1st. The FAFSA form is not due on October 1st. The FAFSA form becomes available starting October 1st. If you fill out the FAFSA form before October 1st as a high school senior family, you're technically filling out the wrong form because you're filling out the form for the academic term you're already in, not the academic term for next fall when your student starts college. Now, the second type of too early happens when underclassmen decides to fill out the FAFSA form before senior year in high school. The earliest time you can ever fill out a FAFSA form for any student consideration is senior year, October 1st. Just wait, October 1st, senior year is the start date for everyone. Now, the fourth commonly made error is putting the wrong names on the forms. Right off the bat, your first name. You do not use nicknames on these forms. So, if your nickname is Ed because your real name is Edward, you put Edward on the form. Or if your nickname is Trish but your actual name is actually Patricia, you use Patricia. Also, with the name issue comes students who've been adopted as well as parents who've been remarried. Now, when I mean by first name, I also mean first name and last name as far as the names being incorrectly put on the financial aid forms. The first and last name must match what you have on the Social Security card. That's the name you're looking for. So if you're remarried, or if your parents had remarried and your step-parent had adopted you, or if you've been adopted in general, you have to make sure that whatever is on your Social Security card, that's the name you're using when you're filling out the financial aid form. Now, the fifth commonly made error on the FAFSA form is Social Security number. Double check, triple check as you're putting these entries on the form. You do not want to be incorrect with the social. The biggest errors made on the FAFSA form every year that delay the process are always the same 4 things: first name, last name, social, and birthday. If you avoid these 4 errors, your FAFSA is going to go through a lot faster, a lot quicker. So going back to the social, if the parent does not have a Social Security number, but the student does, then for the parent, when you get to the parent section of the FAFSA form, starts asking you about Social Security numbers for the parents, you put all zeros. In reality, when it comes to the FAFSA form, there's only one person that has to be either a U.S. citizen or have permanent residency here in the United States to be able to apply for financial aid consideration. It's the student. So if the student has permanent residency, or if they also have citizenship here in the United States, you can apply for financial aid assistance. The parent's legal status here does not matter when it comes to applying for financial aid assistance. Now let's talk about the 6th commonly made error on the FAFSA form. Now this only applies to male students, and it's the process of failing to register for Selective Service. Now all males age 18 to 26 residing in the United States must sign up for Selective Service. Failure to do so makes you ineligible for financial aid assistance. Also, when it comes to Selective Service, this does not commit you to the armed forces. I get this question all the time. I had to register for Selective Service when I went off to college 25 plus years ago. I did not get drafted, nor was I enlisted into any of the armed forces. It's just something you have to do, good, bad, or indifferent, to be considered for financial aid consideration. Now, the 7th most commonly made error on the FAFSA form is waiting until your student is accepted to the college to apply for the FAFSA. You do not wait to be accepted to the college to apply the FAFSA form. You fill out the FAFSA form in anticipation of you being accepted. So as you're filling out applications for admissions and sending everything out, you're also at the same time, after October 1st, starting to fill out the FAFSA form. Because what will happen is, once you get accepted, as long as your FAFSA form is on file because you've already completed it, the two will link up and you'll be given financial aid consideration a lot faster. Apply the FAFSA early on, after October 1st. Now, for those wondering, the FAFSA form has up to 10 different spots. You can put up to 10 different colleges of FAFSA at the same time. If you need to put more colleges, very simple. Put your top 10 in first, send those out, then give it about 3 weeks or so. Call the schools up, make sure they have the FAFSA through the financial aid office. Once they say yes, you can start taking schools off and then plugging in the other schools if you had more than 10, and then resubmitting the form. Now, the 8th most common error on the FAFSA form is not placing a state school where you reside in the top 5 ranking spots. Now, what most families don't realize is, when it comes to the FAFSA form, as I mentioned before, 3 people get the FAFSA: the school itself, the state you reside in, as well as the federal government, because 3 people can offer you financial assistance. For whatever reason, many states require that you put your state schools in a top 5 ranking to be able to provide you state funding. You must, to get state aid, stay in the state you reside in to be eligible for state aid to be given to you. The states will not provide aid for students leaving the state to go to another college. Now, if the student's not applying to state colleges, this is not a factor you have to worry about. Now, the 9th commonly made error on the FAFSA form is not having both parent and student sign at the end. Now, the interesting thing about the FAFSA form is you can actually submit the FAFSA with just using the student to log in, complete the whole form, and then submit it just using the student's login information. However, the FAFSA is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. You will not be provided any financial assistance or be considered for financial assistance until the parent signs it at the end. Now, the 10th biggest made error on the FAFSA form is at the end, when you get to the confirmation screen, you actually have 2 different links in the middle, 2 blue boxes that pop up. On the 2 different blue boxes, the one on the left will indicate that the state you reside in also wants you to fill out additional questions to be eligible for state aid. Click on that link. Depending on the state you live in, you will be asked anywhere from 1 to 5 questions for many states. In the state of New York, unfortunately, you will be asked somewhere between 50 to 70 questions, but for any case, whatever state you reside in, always fill out the state questions at the end of the FAFSA. Now, that being said, those are the top 10 commonly made errors on the FAFSA form. On the screen now, you see our contact information. If you need additional help, please reach out. You can either call us or email us. Also, if you want a copy of our newsletter that goes out monthly telling you what you need to do for either seniors, juniors, etc., please email us the name of the high school you're coming from, as well as the grade level your student is in, because each newsletter is grade specific, telling you specifically what you need to do every month on the admissions, financial aid, testing front, etc. Other than that, thank you for watching our video. And if you're looking for additional content, please hit the subscription button. And if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like. It does help our channel. Once again, my name is Ed Zamora. Thank you for watching.